busy fortnight for India's new Prime Minister as he initiates a total governance overhaul in South Block. And so this week in Cover Story, we take a look at the Modi model of governance as it is showcased for us in Gujarat and try to figure out how he is going to replicate it in the rest of India.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा।
These elections, Narendra Modi rode to power by not just offering hope, but by selling dreams to a billion people, painting pictures of a new, modernized, empowered India.
मतदान के पहले हम उम्मीदवार थे, मतदान के बाद हम उम्मीदों के रखवाले हैं, हम उम्मीदों के दूत हैं। 125 करोड़ देशवासियों की उम्मीदों को पूरा करने का हम प्रयास करें। भाइयों बहनों, भारत का एक परसेप्शन दुनिया में बन पड़ गया है। हमारी पहचान बन गई है स्कैम इंडिया की। हमारे देश की पहचान हमें बनानी है स्किल्ड इंडिया की। महंगाई को दूर करने का हमने वादा किया और हम इसमें प्रामाणिकता से प्रयास करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। और इसलिए नहीं वो सिर्फ चुनावी वादा था इसलिए कर रहा है, ये हमारी सोच है कि गरीब के घर में शाम को चूल्हा जलना चाहिए।
And as Prime Minister, Gujarat's development man seems all set to implement his vision in New Delhi. Now we have a Prime Minister in place who is promising to be both a man of action and a man of words, as is proven by his first address on the floor of the House.
आदरणीय मुलायम सिंह जी ने कहा कि मैंने सरकार चलाई है और सरकार चलाई है, इसलिए मैं कहता हूं कि भाई ये कैसे करोगे, कैसे होगा। उनकी सद्भावना के लिए मैं उनका आभारी हूं। उन्होंने चिंता व्यक्त की, लेकिन हम मिलकर करके रास्ता निकालेंगे। हम सपना तो देखें, पूरा करने का प्रयास करें। कुछ कठिनाई आएगी तो आप जैसे अनुभवी लोग हैं जिनका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिलेगा।
As I see it, we have got 58 items which the President put in his speech, and out of them, as we have heard also, that 90% of only it's old wine in the new bottle. It's the same programs of the Congress Party, which has been brought in under some other name by the ruling government.
यहाँ ये भी बात आई, किसी ने कहा नए बोतल में पुराना शराब है। उनको शराब याद आना बड़ा स्वाभाविक है। लेकिन ये भी कहा कि भाई ये तो हमारी बातें हैं, आपने जरा ऊपर नीचे करके रखी है, कोई नई बात नहीं है। इसका मतलब ये जो हम कह रहे हैं वो आपको भी पता था। और कल से महाभारत की चर्चा हो रही है तो मैं कहना चाहता हूं, एक बार दुर्योधन को पूछा गया कि भाई ये धर्म और अधर्म, सच और झूठ तुम्हें कोई समझ है कि नहीं है। तो दुर्योधन ने जवाब दिया था, उसने कहा जाना भी धर्मम नच में प्रवृत्ति। मैं धर्म को जानता हूं लेकिन ये मेरी प्रवृत्ति नहीं है। सत्य क्या है मुझे मालूम है, अच्छा क्या है मुझे मालूम है, लेकिन वो मेरे डीएनए में नहीं है। और इसलिए आपको पहले पता था, आप जानते थे, आप सोचते थे, मुझे इससे इतराज नहीं है, लेकिन दुर्योधन को भी तो मालूम था।
The pointers were there in the president's speech, which was Modi-nomics all the way.
We will work together to re-establish the credibility of the institutions of democracy. My government will function on the mantra of minimum government, maximum governance. In all our actions, we will be guided by the core values of our great civilization. In all our actions, we will be guided by the core values of our great civilization.
The Modi mantra, as also seen in Gujarat, has been minimum government, maximum governance, and Modi is certainly not deviating from it in New Delhi. Modi has cut cabinet size to the smallest in the last 16 years. The PM's council has 44 ministers, including 23 cabinet ministers. Modi has also discarded UPA's time-wasting legacy, the Empower group of ministers. Instead, he has clubbed several ministries together for faster decisions. However, clubbing ministries like Environment and INB under one man doesn't make sense. Modi has also told bureaucrats, red carpet and not red tape should be the attitude towards policy decisions.
While Arun Jaitley, Nitin Gadkari and Rajnath Singh form Modi's core team, with Arun Jaitley retaining his role as Modi's key strategist and ace advisor, it is also the 10 ministers of state with independent charge that are being groomed as Modi's Gen Next. They, along with this core team, will be the chief implementers of the Modi blueprint.
See, the present team, Modi, is of the key senior ministers. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And they are going to play a very key role. They have in fact started playing that role. But you have to groom another generation of politicians who need experience. So to that extent, yes, it's a very healthy sign that some youngsters have been given some kind of a responsibility so that they can also groom. But the way the government is functioning, it's quite apparent that senior ministers are calling the shots. So look at Arun Jaitley. Look at Rajnath Singh, look at Nitin Gadkari, Sushma Swaraj. They are masters of their portfolios.
It was the Gujarat model of development that brought him to power, but that has also raised the bar for the new Prime Minister. Can he work up the Gujarat magic in the rest of India?
The Gujarat model of development was as much in focus during these elections as was Narendra Modi himself. Portrayed as the land of milk and honey, it soon became a vital part of the Modi mythology that the Prime Minister brings with him to New Delhi. So whenever there is any attempt to decode Narendra Modi, it is equally vital to decode his style of governance and his development vision.
इन दिनों मॉडल की चर्चा होती है. गुजरात मॉडल. मेरे भाषण सुने होंगे, उनको मैं बताता हूं. गुजरात का मॉडल, गुजरात में भी एक जिले का मॉडल दूसरे जिले में नहीं चलता है. ये देश विविधताओं से भरा हुआ है. अगर मेरा कच्छ का रेगिस्तान है और वहां का मॉडल मैं वलसाड़ के हरे भरे जिले में लगाऊंगा तो नहीं चलेगा. इतनी समझ से इसी के तो कारण गुजरात आगे बढ़ा है. यही उसका मॉडल है कि जिसमें ये समझ है. गुजरात का दूसरा मॉडल ये है. गुजरात का दूसरा मॉडल ये है कि हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी कोने में अच्छा हो, उस अच्छे से हम सीखे हैं, उस अच्छे को स्वीकार करते हैं. आने वाले दिनों में भी हम उस मॉडल को लेकर के आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं. हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी कोने में अच्छा हुआ हो, वो जो अच्छा है वो हम सबका है, उसको और जगह पे लागू करने का प्रयास करना चाहिए. आज हमारे कल तमिलनाडु की तरफ से बोला गया था कि गुजरात से तमिलनाडु का मॉडल अच्छा है. मैं इस बात का स्वागत करता हूं. इस देश में इतना तो हुआ कि विकास के मॉडल की स्पर्धा शुरू हुई. एक राज्य कहने लगा मेरा राज्य तुमसे आगे बढ़ रहा है. मैं मानता हूं गुजरात का ये मॉडल का सबसे बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है. ये सबसे बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन कि आज हम पहले ये स्पर्धा नहीं करते थे. हम चाहते हैं कि आने वाले दिनों में राज्यों के बीच विकास की स्पर्धा हो, राज्य और केंद्र के बीच विकास की स्पर्धा हो.
Under Narendra Modi, Gujarat is not just a state. It has become a brand, and a brand that best exemplifies all that he stands for.
That is investment-driven growth, investment in infrastructure, investment in agriculture, and when growth takes place, jobs are created, income is created, surplus is created, and you use that surplus or taxation income, you might say, for social development, which does not take place when growth comes from above.
Modi has done the same thing. It's an investment-driven growth approach.
If you want to bring in employment, you have to create more jobs, and it is only through different sectors that you create the jobs. One of the sectors is industries, whether it is small or big. Now, if you want to bring in more investments, the investors have to get a lot of confidence. And that is the reason he told the bureaucracy that I don't want any red tapeism. You see to it that investments are cleared at the fastest. So we had committees over there at various levels. We never had proposals coming to the government for clearance. We had given complete power to the bureaucrats.
But how will the Gujarat model, which empowers bureaucrats more than ministers, work in Delhi? Will party stalwarts like Rajnath, Gadkari and Sushma agree to hand over decision-making to their bureaucrats?
He will continue to be the political master of the government, the captain of the government, but relying on bureaucrats is basically for execution and implementation of his program and policy. So therefore I don't agree that the bureaucrats will be playing a role which is rather some kind of overshadowing the political master.
Modi was so tall in Gujarat that practically everybody in his cabinet were pygmies.
Absolutely.
This is not so here. I mean, they may not be as popular as Modi. Many of them have probably, if they were to address a public meeting and the party doesn't mobilize for them, they may not get more than, say, 1,000 or 2,000 people. But they have been in the party, they have been in the public eye, they are people who have come through struggle, some of them through the emergency struggle. So it's not the same as the Gujarat cabinet, that's true.
But the question is, can Modi replace the Congress model based on doles and handouts with a more reformist approach? Insiders say that while Modi does not believe in the politics of appeasement, his goal is to create an atmosphere of equal opportunity.
To give you an example, he was asked during one of the lunch meetings, somebody asked him, why is it that Three Gorges Dam in China was built so quickly, and why wasn't Sardar Sarovar Dam built, is taking so much of time? So his answer was very, very simple. He said, you don't have a Medha Patkar in China, so you don't want democratic rights to have a say.
Modi is known to woo investors, telling them if they sow a rupee in Gujarat, they will reap $1. But before delivering the right dialogue, he knew that he had to first create the right enabling environment and then sell it at the right time, as he did with the Tata Nano project.
When Ratan Tata's nano factory ran into trouble in West Bengal, Narendra Modi sends him a simple SMS message. All the message said was Swagatam, and that's all it took for Ratan Tata to move to Gujarat. At least that's the story that Narendra Modi is fond of telling. But in reality, it took a lot more than a simple SMS message from Narendra Modi to get Ratan Tata to move here. In fact, a month before Tata moved out of West Bengal, Modi foresaw the trouble that he was in and told his officials to outline as many as 4 alternative sites for the nano factory in Gujarat, and also came up with a good incentive package. For Modi knew that in order to set up Gujarat as a manufacturing hub, he needed a good big-ticket manufacturer to shift base here.
The Congress has accused Modi of giving away land to Ratan Tata at throwaway prices. This baggage of being corporate friendly is a baggage that Modi brings with him to New Delhi.
Nano went to Gujarat, where the farmers' lands were compulsorily acquired and given to him, to the Tatas, with huge concessions of debt, with minimum interest, investments and tax concessions. And since last 2 years, there is no production of nano cars in that area. He's become a symbol of capitalism in this country.
And of course, the most high-profile invitation to industry was the vibrant Gujarat Summit, which had the cream of industry rushing to Gujarat. And ironically, it was from this podium that Modi's name first came up as a prime ministerial candidate.
When we saw these huge crowds and this massive victory he got in 2000, Was it 2000?
The third election?
Yeah, 2002. I think.
Oh, that 2002 you're talking about?
Yeah, he got a huge, mandate.
That was his first...
First election.
So by then he had decided he wants to...
No. After that, the thought... Then he started getting all these industrialists, gaga about him.
The Vibrant Gujarat.
And so when that, one conference, they are the ones who started with saying, you made it good as a chief minister, why not as prime minister?
But it's this pro-corporate image that has the opposition crying out foul. The Congress says that it will be the corporates and not Modi who will be ruling the country now.
This became more of a battle rather than between the BJP and the Congress, between corporate India and the Congress. And that is why I say that this was the Rockefeller moment of Indian politics. This is the second Teutonic power shift in Indian politics. The first 91 when liberalization happened and economic power went from government hands into public hands, into private hands. And this is the first time when corporate India made a very, very concerted bid for political power. And they did not place their bet on a political party. They placed their bet on one man. And unfortunately, they succeeded.
Along with inviting industry, Modi also focused on infrastructure. In Gujarat, realizing that power theft by farmers was leading to shortages in rural households, he put a twin plan in play. First, he came down heavily on those who stole power by telling his ministers to bring out an ad that showed power thieves in handcuffs, and even got the ad redone to ensure that the handcuffs were scary enough. Second, he set up a separate feeder line for agricultural use and another for rural use. With his love for labeling every move, he called this the Jyoti Gram project. Those who know Modi say that he doesn't believe in freebies simply because he believes that if assured proper delivery and quality, the poor don't mind paying for the essential services. The Jyoti Gram Yojana is not free, but it gives a 3-phase 24 hours assured power supply to domestic users and 8 hours to farmers.
देखिए समाजवादी ढांचा और सोशलिस्टिक गवर्नेंस मॉडल ये दुनिया में पिट चुका है, भारत में भी कहीं नहीं चलने वाला है। सिर्फ एक रिलीफ सेंट्रिक एक कुछ चीजों को कुछ लोगों को एक दे देने से लोग अपने पैर पे खड़ा नहीं होते हैं। कुछ लोगों गरीब लोगों को सत्ता की राज्य की सुरक्षा चाहिए, लेकिन इसके अर्थ नहीं कि उनकी वर्किंग एफिशिएंसी घटा दे, उनको एक निर्भरशील बना दे। इस प्रकार की ढांचा भी नहीं चलेगी। उसमें से लीकेज होती है, उसमें से करप्शन बढ़ती है, उसमें नॉन परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ती है, भ्रष्टाचार बढ़ती है।
Modi has plans for the rest of India as well. A key point in Modi's agenda is to ensure that every family has a pakka house with uninterrupted power and water supply by 2022 and broadband for village schools. Like he did in Gujarat, the Prime Minister has told his bureaucrats to adopt 2 villages each and work on them. First off the mark was Power Minister Piyush Goyal, who led a dozen top bureaucrats from the Ministry of Power, Coal, New and Renewable Energy under his charge to Gujarat for a day to learn from the state model.
When I visited Gujarat, I found they were able to detect the real problem very quickly. Was transmission and distribution, not generation. And the first thing Gujarat set right was setting distribution in order and evacuation of power to different parts of Gujarat. And it was a pleasure to see how they have managed that at every remote corner of Gujarat there was adequate capacity and evacuation. I wish every other government had focused on that. I wish the Delhi government had done some intelligent planning rather than only looking at quick fix solutions or temporary solutions.
Modi was also one of the few chief ministers to give as much focus on solar energy as to conventional energy.
I was a member of the Narmada Development Corporation as a director, and none of us could think what Mr. Modi could think, that you have a canal going from one end to the other of the state and it's open and water evaporates. Why don't we put a solar system above the canal so that the water doesn't evaporate, and this land for the canal is used for solar reflectors and power can be generated. Now it is a unique idea, expensive yet, but he thought about it.
Cleaning the rivers is a big part of Modi's agenda. This is something he has already done at the Kankaria Lake and is in the process of doing at the Sabarmati waterfront. Cleaning the rivers is a big part of Modi's agenda. This is something he has already done at the Kankaria Lake and is in the process of doing at the Sabarmati waterfront. The Kankaria Carnival has become a big draw for tourists who compare this with the Sentosa Island in Singapore.
Quiet flows the Narmada into the Sabarmati riverfront. You know, when Narendra Modi talks about revamping the Kashi riverfront, we get an idea as to what he's talking about by taking a look at what he's done over here at the Sabarmati river. He has relocated the slums, paved the streets, brought in fancy lights, and he's planning to bring in shops and other entertainment complexes to woo the tourists.
What Sabarmati is to Gujarat, Ganga is to India, sacred but polluted and in need of rescuing. Modi does have elaborate plans for a clean Ganga, all the more since he's been elected from Varanasi, the holiest of cities on the banks of the river Ganga. And for this he has set up a dedicated ministry with Uma Bharti in charge. But will the Sabarmati miracle work as magic for the Ganga and the Yamuna as well? Well, experts have their doubts.
हमारी प्रतिबद्धता है गंगा अविरल निर्मल और निर्बाध हो, सब नदियां प्रदूषण मुक्त हो और लोगों को साफ सुथरा जल पीने के लिए मिले.
This out-of-the-box thinking was also prevalent with his other governance moves. Takes for instance what he did with routine Independence Day and Republic Day celebrations in the state, celebrating each one in different districts of Gujarat. Insiders say this is something he could replicate at a national level too.
One great experiment which he did and which he has continued all these years was to celebrate every national day, 15th August and 26th January in a new district headquarters. Nobody has done it in the history of this country so far. Everywhere it's done in state capital. Now what this has led to? This has led to a sense of pride amongst those districts where this has been celebrated and very focused development. The selection of these places is done about 6, 7, 8 months in advance. Not that additional funds are allocated. The funds which are earmarked for the district, they remain as they are, you know. But there is a focused development, you know, implementation.
Under Modi, the Chief Minister's office in Gandhinagar resembled an efficient corporate office, carpeted, air-conditioned and very efficient.
And in New Delhi, the winds of change are clearly blowing through the corridors of power. While doing the rounds of South Block recently, Modi has told his officials to keep the offices clean, to keep them free of pending files and also free of pan stains as well as smoke-free. He very politely pointed to a no smoking sign on the walls.
Do's and don'ts for Team Modi. Don't give theories. Give practical, doable policies. Make bullet point presentations instead of bulky ones. Work longer hours, 6 days a week. Use social media for participatory governance.
It is also possibly a hangover of the campaign mode in which the BJP has been in. You know, this over-aggressiveness which you see on the social media, once issues of governance start really impinging upon and taking the time of the Prime Minister and hard questions start getting asked, you know, you would find then there will be a retreat from not only the social media but even the forms of other media, because the euphoria of victory can very quickly give away to the humdrum of governance.
A chief minister who has practiced this for 12 years in a state as chief minister, he has never, you know, slowed down in Gujarat. If he was doing SMS every day, he was doing video conferencing every day, he can do it now in Delhi also. So I don't agree. You will see Modi in the same spirit when you meet him after 1 year. So it's not hangover.
While Modi's diktat worked in Gujarat, the question now is, will it work with the party stalwarts who are now his cabinet colleagues in Delhi? Will a Rajnath or a Sushma allow him to rule their ministries via the bureaucrats?
So then what does Gujarat tell us about Narendra Modi's model of development? We know for one that he is a hands-on leader, preferring to empower his bureaucrats rather than his ministers. From his development paradigm, we also know that he believes in opportunities and incentives rather than doles and concessions. So for all of you at sea over his line of thinking, we hope that we've been able to shed some light into his governance vision.